had been in prison, and he had been influenced by the work of Elijah Muhammad. And so I knew that we were black people trying to move in the direction of solving the problems that we had as black people. But Malcolm was very patient in explaining his thoughts to me, and so I could see, well, he's interested in black people. I think I'm a Marxist, I'm interested too. Malcolm said, "You're the most aggressive sister I've ever met." Because I was just talking and expressing my viewpoints. And the sisters from the mosque were sitting very nice and politely in the booth. And so we talked until 3 o'clock in the morning, and then he and his bodyguards drove me home, and that was the end of that. But I concluded that's a brilliant man. That Malcolm was absolutely brilliant in the flesh. But all of these roads and all of these avenues and people, as a matter of fact, my godmother was a Chicago public school teacher. Her husband was a lawyer, and they were the left-wing people like my parents in Chicago. Richard Wright had written some of his book, Black Boy, in the home of my godmother. So all of these various influences, I had an uncle who was in the theater in New York. He lived with Paul Robeson for a period of time. So all of these influences, if somebody said, well, how are you doing what you're doing? And you don't think about it, but unless you look back and say all of these things that have been a part of my life or part of my experience. The picture that you saw, I was asking my sister, where do they get all these pictures? Where do they get that report card? But when I was sitting on that bed with the guitar, I was sitting next to my brother-in-law, former brother-in-law, Major Robert Lawrence, who was America's first black astronaut. He was the husband of my younger sister. Lauren is my 1 year older sister. But Bob and I, the last discussion that we had, we're out at Edwards Air Force Base in California, and we're sitting and having a discussion. What was the discussion about? I'm talking about racism and how racism blocks black people from going forward. And my brother-in-law was saying, no, Frances, all you have to do is be qualified. 5 months after he was made the first black astronaut, he was killed. My sister and brother-in-law had received letters, anonymous letters saying we're not going to have any coons on the moon. See, there are forces that are in the universe that we are